All right, welcome back to another edition of the Horsemen Pro Football Talk podcast. This is our wild card weekend preview, and I'm Brad.
This is Zach.
And I'm Hefe.
And if you're watching this, please hit the subscribe button, the bell icon, so you never miss an episode. And if you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, head on over to YouTube and help us out. We appreciate the support. We're going to break down all the playoffs each week and head into the Super Bowl. We got a special guest coming for the Super Bowl. So let's get right into this weekend. The weekend we've all been waiting for. It's the reason we watch. Well, I guess the Super Bowl is probably the reason we watch. But first game up is appropriate. We're going to take Saturday's game at 1:05 p.m. Eastern time is the Colts at the Bills. I'm a huge Colts fan, but I don't see it right now. Going into Buffalo, I don't even know what the weather's like. I don't know what the odds are. I think the Colts have everything they need to make a run and make it to the Super Bowl. I think they can beat the Bills, but I think the way things have laid out in the last couple of weeks, I don't know that they have it right now, and I absolutely expect the Bills to win this game.
Yeah, the Bills have won 6 in a row, averaging 38 points per game during that span. Defensively, they've only given up 18 points per game. Josh Allen returned to MVP caliber form and is playing red hot, along with league leader in receiving yards, Stephon Diggs. The Colts have played well over the last 8 weeks, only losing to Tennessee due to multiple star players being on the COVID list and the referee-influenced second-half meltdown to Pittsburgh in Week 16. But another scary second half last week against Jacksonville has me a little worried here. I believe the Colts can win this game, and being a Colts fan myself, as you can see, I will definitely be rooting for an upset victory here. But with the way the Buffalo Bills have been playing as of late, and with this game in Buffalo, I'm going to have to take the Bills to win and cover the 6.5 point spread.
Now, I've taken the Colts every week, no matter who they were playing, no matter what the circumstances are. I take the Colts. I'm going to take the Colts here. And like you guys said, it doesn't look great, right? You're playing Buffalo in Buffalo. The weather, it should be a sunny day, but it's going to be cold. It's going to be 32, 34 degrees, somewhere around there. But there won't be a whole lot of snow to deal with. It won't be a nasty, grimy kind of game. You're really going to see both teams, I feel like, at their best here. And the Colts are going to need to bring their best. The defense is going to have to stand up and be able to contain Josh Allen and be able to stop Stephon Diggs. We saw the Colts have to deal with Deshaun Watson 2 games in a row. We've seen them have to deal with Lamar Jackson this season. They lost to the Ravens, damn near lost to the Texans twice. So, whichever way you cut it up, if the Colts are going to win this game, it's going to be a close one. I'm taking the Colts here, but this is a dangerous game. This is going to be the best game of Wild Card Weekend, in my opinion. This is for sure going to be the most fun game to watch. I think both offenses are going to be explosive at times in this game. I think both defenses are going to make plays at times in this game. This game is going to be a lot of fun, and I'm going to go ahead and take the Colts.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this could potentially be and should be the best game of the weekend. I think we're a little bit biased there, but I think a lot of people would agree. I saw a lot of Colts fans. I even had one, defending. They're taking the Colts, and a little bit delusional, in my opinion. They tried to convince me that the Bills shellacking of the Dolphins last week, that it was against a poor defense. I think they were like, yeah, but it was the 16th ranked defense, which tells me that somebody's looking at statistics and not watching games. The Miami defense is way more than what those statistics show, and we know it. What the Bills did last week is no small feat against anybody, let alone an 11-5 team or 10-6. Is that where the Dolphins finished? I can't remember. 10-6 and should have been 11-5 and probably should have been the playoffs. So the Bills are hot. And if they're hot, then I believe in Frank Reich and everything he's put together. I like I like him as a coach. I think he'll bring a good game plan. But the Bills are the kind of team that you better keep them contained, because it's like having a poisonous pet snake. It's all good when it's in the glass. When you wake up and you can't find it, you got problems. And if the Bills bust out, the Colts are in a lot of trouble. And not just the Colts, anybody the Bills play running on through to Tampa in the Super Bowl. So, all right, we won't keep beating that to death. Let's move on to the next one. This Saturday, 4:40 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is the an NFC West matchup with the Rams at the Seahawks. Potentially another really good game, for the simple fact we don't know which team's going to show up. If both of the good versions of these teams show up, this could be a really good game. Could be a shootout. Be a very exciting game to watch. It's in Seattle. The Rams have just disappointed me all year. As much as I hate to say this, I'm going to have to take the Seahawks.
Yeah, after once being one of the hottest teams in the league, the Rams have floundered the last 3 weeks of the season, losing to, at the time, the winless New York Jets, Seattle, and ultimately clinching their playoff berth with a non-impressive 18-7 win against Arizona last week. To make things worse, there's a possibility that starting quarterback Jared Goff may not play again this week. Sean McVay has yet to make that announcement on the starter. Meanwhile, Seattle, after a rough midseason stretch, bounced back to win 6 of 7, including their last 4 to clinch the NFC West division. If Goff is back, I think the Rams will have a chance, but regardless, I'm going to stick with the Seahawks to win the game. Seattle's favored by 5. If Goff is out, I'm taking the Seahawks on the spread. If Goff is in, I think it'll be a little bit closer than that, but ultimately Seattle pulls it out.
I'm gonna have to agree. I think if Jared Goff plays in this game, I like the Rams a lot more. Traditionally the Seahawks generally struggle against the Rams. Right, this is a division opponent. We see him play twice a year. Russell Wilson going against this team hasn't been explosive in either of the games this year. So with Jared Goff in there, I think it really will make a big difference. Obviously, if Walford's in there, I'm definitely taking the Seahawks here. And I'm likely to take the Seahawks either way, especially, I'm a Russ fan. I just generally like the Seahawks anyways. But their defense has gotten so much better. And when that defense plays better, even though the offense isn't as explosive, it makes me think that, they can make a couple mistakes on offense and be okay. So even if Jared Goff's there, whether he's there or not this weekend, I'm going to be rolling with Russell Wilson's Seattle Seahawks.
Okay, we all three agree on that one. We are all three taking the Seahawks. All right, next game up is a Saturday night game, 8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is where shit gets tricky right here. The Bucs are on the road, heading into Washington. We complained all year that an NFC East team was going to make the playoffs based on their schedule, but the Bucs are on the road, which neither here nor there with the Bucs. I mean, they win on the road, they lose on the road, they win at home, they lose at home, but they still have to make this trip. And they are so inconsistent. They're up and down. By all rights, the Bucs should win this game. I shouldn't even have drugged this out this far. But this Washington defense is nasty, and Ron Rivera is a seasoned coach. I'm not fully on the Ron Rivera wagon yet. Thought he kind of underachieved. I'm starting to wonder if it was his quarterback in Carolina, but we will certainly see. This could be an upset. I'm going with the Bucs, but as much as we have bashed Washington all year, they could sneak this one out.
Yeah, I agree with you. Washington turned it on late and ultimately clinched the NFC East division in a controversial victory over the Philadelphia Eagles last week in Alex Smith's return. On the season, with Alex Smith as the starter, Washington is 5-1. Couple that with a very good defense, don't count the Washington football team out. Tampa, on the other hand, has been on fire offensively the last 3 games, with Tom Brady throwing no less than 348 yards, which in that game he was pulled at halftime. I think things have finally gelled for the Buccaneers, just like we all thought would happen heading into the playoffs. Although the Bucs have some injuries to watch out for, notably Mike Evans, I think they'll all be ready to go by the time Saturday night rolls around. Favored by 7.5, I'm going with the Bucs to cover this one.
Now, this is one that I thought long and hard about because, like Zach just mentioned, we've seen Tom Brady light it up over the last few weeks. The Falcons, Lions, Falcons. But look, they suck, right? The Falcons, for as close as they were so many times, they ended up with the 4th pick in the draft. They suck. The Lions, another top 10 pick in the draft. They suck. The Washington football team, like Zach also mentioned, 5-1 with Alex Smith as a starter. Alex Smith takes care of the ball. Washington plays good defense. In the playoffs, that means a lot. Antonio Gibson is healthy, going into playoffs healthy. Terry McLaurin was able to play last week. He's coming into the playoffs healthy enough to play. So with Washington, it's probably an unpopular opinion because, the GOAT is playing for the other side. But I think that Chase Young, when he said, I want Tom Brady, I think he's going to get Tom this week. And I think Montez Sweat is going to get Tom this week. I think they're going to be in Tom Brady's lap all day long during this game. I think they're going to be flustering him. I think, the Mike Evans injury, it looked nasty. Bruce Arians said that it wasn't as bad as it looked. So maybe he's there, maybe he's not, maybe he's affected. We've seen when Mike Evans is being affected by an injury earlier this year, Mike Evans wasn't very good the next week, ended up hobbling off. So we'll have to see what happens there. When it's all said and done, I think Washington, with a 6-10 record, comes in and wins a damn playoff game.
We've talked about the butterfly effect before, and particularly like the Tuck rule and what it did for Brady and Belichick and what it did not do for Chucky and the Raiders organization. Washington wins this game. It could have a long-lasting rippling effect for the rest of Brady's career and for Arians as a head coach in Tampa. You may lose confidence in the locker room. Guys, you start losing confidence, it becomes infectious. Guys are talking, guys are leaving. They're not, completely buying in. So this, I don't want to overplay this, but this really could have monumental effects on where the Tampa organization goes from here, as well as the Washington organization. Right? You're 6-10, you barely get in. Alex Smith come back, like you said, he's 5-1. Rivera, fights off cancer at the beginning of the year. They're struggling all year. They barely get in. They win their first playoff game. They lose their next playoff game. They got the whole offseason chomping at the bit and drooling to get back on the field and move from 6-10 to 9-7 or 10-6. So this is a huge game for both of these teams, in my opinion. All right, so that does it for Saturday's games. The next game up will be Sunday at 1:05 p.m. Eastern, as the Baltimore Ravens travel to Tennessee to face off the Tennessee Titans. These teams played earlier in the year, and it was really close. I think Tennessee, were they in Baltimore? I think they were.
I think so, yeah.
Okay. I think if I remember correctly, I think the score was 30-24. So and Tennessee won, right? So I have to think, giving Harbaugh credit for being the tenured coach that he is, and getting a second chance to play what was a close game the first time, I would like to think that the adjustments category has to go to Harbaugh on this. And so if Baltimore is shaking off some dust and kind of getting their wheels greased a little bit, and nothing against Vrabel, I like Vrabel, and he's been around the league a long time, but Harbaugh was raised by a coach. I mean, it's in their blood. He's been doing this a long time. I've got to give him that advantage. So I'm going to go with the Ravens on this one.
Both teams are in their playoff spots last week in must-win games. Tennessee boasts a two-time league rushing champ, Derrick Henry, coming off a 2,000-yard-plus season. Meanwhile, Baltimore has a 2019 league MVP in Lamar Jackson back to form, it appears. The Ravens are 4.5-point favorites heading into Nashville, and I think they'll continue to play well, and as they have the last 5 weeks, and come out with a win covering the spread.
Yeah, that's how I feel too. This Baltimore team is a different looking team than what we saw, 6-8 weeks ago when they played the Titans the first time. And they took them to overtime then, and they lost on a Derrick Henry run. We've seen it a million times this year, Derrick Henry breaking out at the end of a game. But like I just mentioned, this is a different Ravens team. And coming into this game, I think they're going to be able to do more offensively against a sad Titans defense. And I think that they'll be able, you can only slow Derrick Henry down so much. But I think the secondary has enough in it, Marcus Peters, Marlon Humphrey, Chuck Clark as a safety, all them guys. I think they're going to do enough to slow down the passing game and what they're able to do with the play action and with A.J. Brown down the field. You really only have to worry about Derrick Henry, and they have some big boys up front that can stop them. So, I think they do just enough in this game. Maybe win by 2 scores. I think the Ravens are really going to assert themselves here and take advantage of that defense for the Titans. I got the Ravens all day with this one.
Right. We are all three taking the Ravens. Next game is the Sunday game, 4:40 p.m. And the Chicago Bears travel down to New Orleans. So I flip-flopped all year. I praised the Bears for starting 5-0, but even when that happened, we talked about that they were actually the worst of the undefeated at that particular point. I praised the Bears when they started 5-0, even though we did acknowledge that they were kind of the worst of the undefeated, that we didn't think that it was going to last long, and it didn't. And then they went on a slide. But I'm impressed with being able to salvage at the end and get into the playoffs for what that's worth. And I hope that the quarterback controversy is over. I hope they go with Trubisky. I hope they get things. This is the first step in getting things righted for the organization. I really don't want to just keep ripping the Bears. But there's no way they're going to go down to New Orleans and beat Sean Payton and Drew Brees. It's just not going to happen.
Yeah, Chicago earned their playoff spot last week due to a loss by Arizona, despite losing themselves 16-35 to Green Bay. The 3 games prior, the Bears were on a tear, averaging 36 points per game. Unfortunately, those 3 teams combined for only 12 wins on the entire season, so not a whole lot to brag there. Barely snuck in the playoffs, didn't even get it on a win. I don't have much faith in the Bears. New Orleans, on the other hand, has been one of the best teams in the league all season, even without future Hall of Famer Drew Brees. Since Brees returned 3 weeks ago, the Saints have scored no less than 32 points. New Orleans was missing some key players last week due to COVID, most notably star running back Alvin Kamara. But if quarantine goes well, he and other Saints players should be eligible to return before kickoff. Even if Kamara is out, though, I'm still taking the Saints at home to cover the 9-point spread.
Yeah, Kamara should be back because this is a Sunday game. If this was a Saturday game, we're probably not seeing Alvin Kamara, but because it's Sunday, Alvin Kamara should be back. And remember what Zach just said there. Over the last 3 weeks since Drew Brees came back, the Saints have scored 32 points a game. And that's without Michael Thomas, who's been on the IR the entire time. We're getting Michael Thomas back, which is, obviously Drew Brees' go-to guy. When he needs a first down, he'll keep drives going for him. So in this game, as much as an 8-8 team in the Bears, barely squeaking it out to get in the playoffs, it'd be cool to see another upset here. It's just not going to happen. There's 0% chance that the Bears come in and upset the Saints here. So go with the Saints all day.
Yeah, we're all three going with the Saints, and you should too. Guys like Sean Payton and Drew Brees for that matter, but let's go with Sean Payton being a coach. He doesn't have the record and the pedigree that he does by not knowing what the hell he's doing in the playoffs. And playing a team in the regular season, playing a coach like him in the regular season and playing him in the playoffs are 2 completely different things. What I was trying to get at with Harbaugh, even though I'm not as confident with Harbaugh as I would be with Sean Payton, the Saints are a formidable opponent in this playoff, not only because Brees is putting up 30 or more points a game, but because Sean Payton's at the helm. So NFC teams ought to be aware, including the Green Bay Packers. And I'm all in with the Packers, but the Saints can beat the Packers, and everyone should be on alert that could happen.
Yeah. Now the only thing that could save the Bears here is the Saints' horrible postseason luck. They've had such bad luck in the playoffs over the last couple of years. Only something crazy is going to have to happen in this game for the Bears to win.
Yeah, fair point. Which anybody who's around me long enough knows that there are 3 things you need for a championship. 1 is a little bit of talent, 1 is a little bit of coaching, and 3 is a whole lot of luck. And the Saints have sure not had their fair share of the kind of luck they need. It's a great point. All right. So the last game of Wild Card Weekend is the Browns at the Steelers for the 3rd matchup this year. I've struggled with the Browns. I've struggled with my confidence in them. And the Steelers obviously started undefeated, and then they wobbled. They lost to the Browns last week. They shouldn't have beaten the Colts, in my opinion. But it still comes down to the fact that in Week 6, they beat the crap out of the Browns. I know there's some caveats. There were some side notes to go along with that. They still beat them badly. They beat the Steelers despite not having starters. The Steelers not having starters last week, and then they beat them by 2 points. I'm going with Mike Tomlinson. That's just the way it is. They're not. I can't see them coming into Pittsburgh and upsetting a tenured coach like Tomlinson to move on in the playoffs.
Yeah, Cleveland beat Pittsburgh just last week, like you said, but it was only by 2 points. This time they're in Pittsburgh, and although the Steelers have lost 4 of the last 5, with Cleveland's head coach Kevin Stefanski, along with other coaches and Pro Bowl guard Joel Bitonio out with COVID, I don't see this going in the Browns' favor. Steelers are favored by 4. I think they'll cover, but not by much.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to take the Steelers to cover here too. You know, if it wasn't for the COVID situation with the Browns, I would be really, really confident that the Browns could win this game. But when you're looking at Kevin Stefanski not being there, you know, you're taking away the Browns play caller, the head coach and play caller, and that's an issue. And as Colts fans, we saw that the year Bruce Arians took the reins for Chuck Pagano, and the Colts made it into the playoffs. They had to go play Baltimore, who of course had a good defense, but Bruce Arians got hospitalized day of game. Play caller isn't there. They only score 9 points. A lot of the same is going to happen here with the Browns, in my opinion. You know, you just can't take away that guy. And it's not just, I mean, sure, you can keep the same playbook, but Kevin Stefanski knows his playbook inside and out. He knows what plays he wants to call in certain situations. You know, it's just a different feel to the game. It's going to change with the players. It's going to change with the coaches. And as much talent as there is on the offense, you know, I just think that the Steelers are going to be able to do enough, you know, without the real coaches there. They're going to be able to expose the Browns here in this one. Unfortunately, you know, we waited so long for the Browns to make it. It's unfortunate that this is the reality of the situation that they're living in, but, you know, without key pieces there for the Browns, it's going to be an easy win for the Steelers, unfortunately.
We are all three taking the Steelers in that. Just a reminder that the 2 teams that finished first in each conference that have the bye week are the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC and the Green Bay Packers in the NFC. Both of those teams will take on the lowest seed coming out of wild card weekend. So the Packers could potentially play the Washington football team, right? Or they're going to play probably the winner of the Rams Seahawks. The Chiefs on the other side, probably looking at the Ravens. Yeah, so lowest seed has a hell of a battle all the way across. It's really designed to eliminate the lowest seed for sure. So, all right. Well, we'll keep an eye on that. Anything you guys want to add before we take off out of here?
Nope.
All right, that does it for this week. We want to remind you to show us some love and like, share, and subscribe, and help us get the word out by telling all your friends and subscribe so you can keep up with what we're talking about during the playoffs. It's going to be a fun playoff season, and we got a lot to talk about, a lot to share with you, and the like. So, and of course, we will see you back here again on Tuesday, where we will review the games from the weekend. And until then, thanks for joining us. Enjoy the games. Deuces.